Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to on the show here today as spring training is getting started here. Brewers pitchers and catchers are reporting today. Their first workout isn't until tomorrow, but all the Brewers pitchers and catchers will be in camp. They will be at American Family Fields of Phoenix, getting in, getting their physicals done, getting everything all set up, and getting ready to go for the season. All the intake stuff, intake testing, whatever else it is that they got to do, making sure that they're in shape, ready to go, and the first workout is going to be tomorrow. And as we enter camp here, as it begins, there is one real big question mark that remains for this roster, and that is third base. This wasn't a question mark until a few days ago. After the Freddie Peralta trade, it was looking like, yeah, everything's about largely set. They've gotten just about everything done this offseason. The Freddie Peralta trade, okay, that was kind of the big thing on the potential to-do list here. All the positions really were covered with options that they had. And then this trade comes down Monday morning, and not only is Durbin gone, but so is Andrew Monasterio and Anthony Siegler. All of your 40-man roster third base depth, poof, gone. You have one player who played third base last year that remains on the 40-man roster, and that's Sal Frelick, okay? He played one inning there. That is your leading returner at third base, okay? Your regular right fielder. That's your leading returner. 6 of the 7 other guys are gone. You had 7 guys play there last year. 6 of them are gone. Okay, Oliver Dunn, Vinny Capra were already gone before that. Isaac Collins was traded earlier this offseason. And then you just sent out Monasterio, Siegler, and Caleb Durbin. So you're going to have to find some help there. In terms of what other options, we've kind of talked about this in the past couple of shows here. You're looking at Jet Williams. Potentially, you're looking at maybe Joey Ortiz could move over to third base. That's a possibility. David Hamilton, who you just got in the trade, could be a possibility. But, even if you move Joey Ortiz over, it leaves the question at shortstop. What are you going to do there? I think, really, right now, the in-house candidate to take over for one of those starting jobs on the left side of the infield is Jet Williams. With what they traded to get him. I mean, trading Freddie Peralta and Tobias Myers to get this dude, along with Brandon Sproat, but to get this dude, I think the plan is very much so to get this dude, Jet Williams, into the starting lineup as much as possible. They're clearing a spot for him. Yes, you have the other prospects. You can talk about the Cooper Pratts and the Jesus Mades and the Brock Wilkins and the Andrew Fishers. You can talk about those guys all you want. None of them are ready to begin the year at that spot. The closest one to being ready to play in Milwaukee on opening day in this first part of the season is going to be Jet Williams. So I think he's going to get every opportunity to earn that job. David Hamilton potentially there as the utility guy behind him. And Joey Ortiz is going to be fitting in somewhere. Whether it's shortstop, whether it's third base, he is going to be starting somewhere on that left side of the infield. I still envision it going to be shortstop. But that could change. The Brewers did like him in 2024 when he was over there. So that's a possibility. But it is a major question mark because all of your depth, poof, is gone like that. So they have to figure out some way to go about it. Matt Arnold can talk about how he likes what he has in-house, all that he wants. But really, I don't envision you trading all 3 pieces of your infield depth over there unless you had something else kind of planned. And I think, once again, the really most likely possibility is Isaac Paredes of the Houston Astros. And he's someone that seems to be on the trade block. There's an infield glut that the Houston Astros have. And we just saw this report come out here on Tuesday about what the Astros are looking for. So they've, reportedly been looking for young, controllable, talent, pitching potentially part of that. But also, now we're seeing that the Astros are looking for a left-handed hitting outfielder in return for Isaac Paredes. So that's something that the Brewers also potentially have some options in. It's not going to be Sal Frelick. Don't worry about that. It's not going to be Christian Yelich. I don't care how many of you want him traded. It ain't going to happen. That's not going on here. But some possibilities, Garrett Mitchell and Tyler Black. Now, when it comes to Garrett Mitchell, I don't envision the Brewers being willing to include him in a trade for Isaac Paredes. I just don't see that happening. They love Mitchell. They love what he can do when he's on the field, which hasn't been super often in his career so far, for being honest. But he's healthy coming into spring training here. We'll see how hopefully that remains the case. But I think they really want to see what they have in Mitchell and don't want to give him up for 1, potentially 2 years of Isaac Paredes. But Tyler Black, I've talked about this in the last couple of weeks on the show here about how I think the Brewers should trade Tyler Black. I think that should have been on their to-do list this offseason. It's clear he doesn't have a spot in the future here in Milwaukee. He's not a third base option defensively. You would have thought this would be, this could clear an absolute dynamite opportunity for Tyler Black at third base if the Brewers had any confidence in him in there defensively. They do not. So that is not going to be a reliable option for him. He's limited to first base and left field. First base is taken care of. Outfield is largely taken care of. But he's a left-handed hitter. He's a really good hitter. Really good eye at the plate. Maybe not a ton of pop, but gets on base a ton. Has really good speed. Really good athlete in that regard. So he could make some legitimate sense here for the Houston Astros because he could get some regular playing time out there in Houston finally. And he does have that prospect pedigree that could intrigue Houston in talks for Paredes. Now, Tyler Black on his own is not going to get you Isaac Paredes. You're going to have to include something else in there as well. Perhaps that's dealing from your starting pitching depth that you have now. That could be included in there also. But with the Astros seeking a left-handed hitting outfielder, the Brewers do have a couple of them. They got quite a few. And Tyler Black, left field is probably his best, most likely position in the major leagues. So I think that's something you can really sell to Houston if you want to have talks for Isaac Paredes, because that would present a legitimate upgrade offensively with the power that he brings. It's mostly pull power from the right side. The short porch for the Brewers is in right field, not left field, but still, he's someone that can provide some thump in the middle of the lineup, which this team could certainly be looking for and certainly could use. So Isaac Paredes, I think that's got to be an option here for the Brewers to be looking at. On paper, they make way too much sense as a fit. As much as Matt Arnold can say, yeah, we like the guys that we have and giving them opportunities. And I certainly think they want to give Jet Williams some opportunities here. And you have young guys coming up, but those young guys aren't ready quite yet. I mean, if this were 2027, I'd totally understand trading Durbin to clear room for some of these guys. But Brock Woken hasn't hit AAA yet. Cooper Pratt hasn't hit AAA yet. Jesus Made just barely got a taste of AA. Andrew Fisher was in High A. They're not quite there. So to make this move now, you can clear room, but those guys aren't necessarily ready to step in and fill those shoes and take up that room quite yet. So you got to do something in the meantime. And with all due respect to David Hamilton and Jet Williams and whatnot, I think they really got to be looking for something else here as a possibility, just to add some actual depth to that group with some big league experience or at least proximity. Because all these guys are they're getting close. A lot of your top prospects are infielders. They're getting close, but they're not ready to help out right now. At best, a couple of them maybe could help mid-season, around the All-Star break. But that's half the season that you got to go through with potentially not a legitimate answer at that spot. So I think that's still an area that the Brewers could be looking here. And with the Astros seeking a left-hand hitting outfielder, I think the on-paper fit continues to make sense. Because Tyler Black plus something else in a trade there, I think can absolutely get something done. I'm not sure what exactly that something else could be. Maybe it's like a Robert Gasser type. But that could potentially get a deal done here and get Isaac Paredes. So we will certainly continue to monitor how that is going to unfold here as spring training officially opens. And also the Brewers have added to their bullpen depth which is nice to see. So I've been talking about this too, how I would have liked to have seen the Brewers get a little bit more right-handed relief depth on the roster heading into spring training, and they get some, and it's a familiar face. Remember Peter Strzelecki, Pistol Pete? He is back with Milwaukee on a minor league deal with an invite to Major League spring training. So Strzelecki bounced around the last couple of years. The Brewers traded him to Arizona, back at the trade deadline a few years ago, and now he is back. He had a pretty successful run with Milwaukee. Being able to come up, kind of as an indie league guy. Being able to make his mark in the Brewers minor leagues and earn a promotion to the big league level. Did really well with the Brewers in a shorter stint. So excited to see what he can bring. And perhaps he can put himself into that bullpen mix here as things get going, because the Brewers just picked up 2 more lefties, and it is a very left-handed heavy potential bullpen mix. So getting another righty for that group certainly makes a ton of sense to me. Very excited to see Pistol Pete back in Milwaukee. And also, finally here, the PECOTA projections have come out as spring training is getting underway. PECOTA, one of those projection systems that everyone loves. And surprise, surprise, PECOTA doesn't like the Brewers once again. They have the Brewers projected for 80.5 wins this season. So just about a 500 team, just under a 500 team. They have the Milwaukee Brewers being. Last year, they had the Brewers pegged for about the same. They had the Brewers projections at around 80, 81 wins on the season, around a 500 ball club, and the Brewers won 97. They won 97 games despite these projections. Now also, fun things, they have the Chicago Cubs projected for 90.5 wins, because, of course, so they think, despite the Cubs having lost the division last year by 5 games, now all of a sudden they're going to be winning it by 10. And they also have the Los Angeles Dodgers winning 105. Because, of course, the Dodgers are the Monstars, and they have far and away more than anyone else. They have 12 more wins projected than the next best team, which is the Seattle Mariners, projected to win 93 games this season. So, yeah, PECOTA hates the Brewers because it doesn't know how to project the Brewers. When you have young players, ascending players who you're looking at improving, they don't really kind of know what to deal with that. They can only project improvement so much. It kind of goes a lot on past performance. Like Christian Yelich, you can probably project pretty well. Joey Ortiz is going to be a bit harder to project. Bryce Terang, with the way he's ascended each of the last couple of years, probably hard for it to project. That's why Terang was so low on the top 10 second baseman right now. It's going to be incredibly hard to project Garrett Mitchell, what he's going to do. It's going to be very hard to project how this Brewers rotation is going to perform, because you have such a limited sample size on guys like Jacob Misiorowski and Chad Patrick and Brandon Sproat and Kyle Harrison and all these guys on down the line that the Brewers have with these young pitchers. It's very difficult to project them. There's a chance that all of them will succeed and the Brewers will win a whole ton of games again, but there's also a chance that some of them fail, because that historically does happen with young players. They come up, they're not able to be successful right away, and the team can struggle because of it. But the Brewers just have so many options, and they've been doing this for so long. PECOTA has hated the Brewers for forever, seemingly. The projections are always way lower than the Brewers' actual win totals have been. The Brewers haven't lost or haven't won fewer than 86 games going on nearly a decade now. Nearly a decade. They haven't won fewer than 86 games, and yet still these projections are going to have the Brewers hovering around 79, 80 wins somehow every single year, saying there's no way they can be that good, and yet every year somehow they are. And maybe one of these years PECOTA will wise up and just realize, okay, you know what, this is just what the Brewers are. Let's just project them for a whole bunch of wins because somehow they're going to be good. But the math apparently doesn't work that way. PECOTA doesn't work that way. So it is what it is. I don't put too much stock into projections because that's really all that they are. I mean, this is human performance we're talking about. it is going to be very hard to project that. Who's going to be good, who's going to have a career year, who's going to get hurt. That's also a big factor in this as well. Injuries can play a role, so you don't know. But the projections, they all hate the Brewers, whether it's Pacoda, whether it's Zips, whatever it is, whatever projection system you like to use. They generally view the Brewers lower than what the Brewers actually end up being. This is why the game is not played on paper, right? That's why I say you don't play it on paper. You play the games on the field, and the Brewers thrive in that area no matter who's out there on the field. Whether you go from Caleb Durbin to Jet Williams or whoever it is out there, they're going to find a way to be successful. So it's all getting started here. Pitchers and catchers are going to be all in American Family Fields of Phoenix. First workout is going to be tomorrow. We'll be covering everything all here on Brewers Daily. Be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.